Recorded live in Balcatta, Western Australia, the Hoon capital of the world. This is Talkin' Power.
Gap is what happens when you hold to the floor and crush the man next to you. There's space in between your back lumbar and your front lumbar. We in the South we refer to it as the gap band.
Well, I think Formula One is for grown-ups.
So, what about the sideways? You've got a race in your own lane. Now he's on the grass, he brings it back. That's a great driving there.
Torque and Power, your motoring and motorsport podcast.
Hi everyone and welcome to episode 21 of the Talk and Power podcast. This is a best of podcast for 2017. I trust you all had a great Christmas and a good new year and your 2018 has started off well. For those of you that don't know, 2017 was actually our first year in podcasting and our first recording was on the 4th of April in 2017. 20 episodes later, here we are. We've been recording every 2 weeks. And while it's only been 9 months, I think we've improved somewhat. Let's just have a listen to our first recording, the opening segment. G'day everyone out there in the World Wide Web. Welcome to our new automotive podcast called Talk and Power. If it's got wheels, we have something to say about it. With me is our co-host Simon Gonzo Travellini, and I'm Nick DeCembri. How are you, Simon?
Good, mate. Pleasure to be on the show.
Thanks for coming on. Thanks for being here.
Oh, thanks for inviting me, mate.
No problems at all. You're the influential person in the Perth drag racing scene. Why wouldn't we have you here?
I think the only influence I have is a bad influence.
I didn't want to say that. You know me. I'm trying to be diplomatic at the very least.
Diplomatic, yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Whatever the opposite of diplomatic is, that's what I would be.
That is true. No one's disputing that. I think it was safe to say that the comedy was less than witty and some of the recording was, for a lack of a better term, somewhat agricultural. But anyway, we made attempts in improving that, and I felt we've done that over the past 9 months. Some of the things we wanted to focus on in our podcast was predominantly drag racing, Formula One, V8 Supercars, MotoGP, and a number of other motorsports. Drag racing is probably what Simon and myself are probably most knowledgeable in. Let's just have a listen to some of the drag racing commentary we've had over the past 9 months.
I would have to say that I believe Damien Harris is the quickest hoon over the quarter mile in the world.
He is now. Yeah, he is. Yep, that is official. Let's just listen to it as it happened.
Australia. And it won't be Larry.
This is quick.
443.
444!
There it is.
444! Damien Harris!
4.44.
Some confusion over the time there. 443, 444, 43, 44. It was a 444.
Now you know that this is it's a bit of a, emotional moment for me because who was tuning the car, Nick? Who did they have over to tune the car? Lee Beard.
Yeah, Lee Beard.
Lee
that's
Beard,
correct,
the man with the best hairstyle in all of drag racing.
He has got the best hairstyle, eh?
I love it when he walks past the headers and it kind of flicks up there like some sort of shampoo ad.
Yeah, he's the silver fox, eh?
He's a legend. He's I wouldn't say he's my all-time favourite crew chief, but he's definitely up there. There's no doubt about it. Incredible achievement. Once again, like the early days of Top Fuel in Australia, putting Australia on the map worldwide. I know that they don't run to 13:20 anymore. For those of you that don't know, that's the length of the quarter mile in feet. They only run to 1,000 feet in America these days, but still a massive achievement.
Yeah.
Good on those guys. And, we all know how much it costs to run fuel. So, outstanding. But, you know me, I'm a doorman.
Yeah.
John Zappia off the trailer.
Yeah.
Off the trailer, Nick. 564.
It was an incredible achievement, one that I think hasn't been really highlighted. It kind of slipped under the radar, that one. There's 40. The top fuel run was up there in lights, but Zap 64 didn't seem to hit the lofty heights of social media that I would expect it to.
Nick, it's not just that he ran a 64. It's that he did it first pass. You know what I mean? Like, you can do a run and get out there with your traction meter and look at the air and go, we can do this, we can do that. But if he did that on his first run, where was he going? Was he going for like a 58?
Well, I don't know if that. I think that was his second run. The first run was an abort. It had a misfire.
Okay.
Yeah, it did, in the burnout, it shut down and had a misfire. But that was
technically, that was his first pass.
Correct. Yes. Yeah. Is John Zappia? What can we say? He is going places, and he literally is going places.
He is.
So, we had the official confirmation this week from Noonan Racing that John Zappia will be participating in the last 3 PDRA races over in the US with a Jerry Bickle 69 Camaro Pro Mod. So, I mean, you know a bit about the motor or the...
Interesting to note, Mark Savage, that crews for Stevie Fast, he used to work on this car.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, Zap and I have been talking about this for a while because he did think about switching to a converter, of which I said to him, bro, you've been using clutches your entire life. And, So I believe that they're in the process of converting the car to a clutch.
Yep.
And shout out to Bonafonte, because I think Bonafonte is supplying the clutch for the car.
Yep.
It's going to run a B&J.
Yeah.
And yes, as you've noted, the new Noonan 4.9 bore spacing engine.
Yep.
He's going to be representing Australia in more ways than one, because it's an Australian engine and Australian driver, Australian team. Both of us wish you all the best, Zap. We hope that you can go there and show them how fast these things can really go.
Yeah, yep.
And stick it up the turbo cars.
Let's just have a listen to John Force.
It just rings in the tune-up. That's what's going on there.
Downloads it on his iPad.
Probably just swipes right. It just sends
just
it.
like Tinder. Let's have a listen to John Force and his wife straight after Brittany's race, after winning her championship.
John and Lori sharing a special moment right now as they just watched their daughter become the 2017 Top Fuel World Champion. John, as a father, as a team owner, what does this mean to you?
Just really proud. She's been so sick all week. And I told her, like when she was little, I'd take that little sickness out of her belly. And Mom said that's what Dad always did. Talk to Mom.
Mom, for you, you've been out here, you've watched your girls. They started at the bottom, they're here now. What does this mean?
Oh my gosh. Well, I never thought this would really happen. I mean, I just wanted her to be safe, and I thought if you can hang on to number 2, I'd be like so excited. I don't know. It's just too much. I'm so excited for her. She's worked really hard, and so has her team. So, wow, good for her and Monster.
Congratulations to your family.
Look, they won Top Fuel. They won Funny Car.
They did, but let's look at the. I haven't got the numbers in the notes, but the countdown system still. This is kind of like the Western Bulldogs of 2016. The reality is that Steve Torrance won 8 races this year. Brittany only won 4. But she, in fairness, she won them when she needed to win them. She won 3 of her 4 wins in the countdown.
Yeah, but the reason they introduced the countdown was so that it was still a championship towards the end of the season. Because what used to happen was John Force, Greg Anderson, Warren Johnson years ago, they'd go out there, they'd win 10 races in a row, and that was the championship wrapped up halfway through the season.
Yeah.
I liked the old system, not because these guys could come in and dominate, but because I think that all the teams had to focus on, well, you know what, we've got to figure out a way to beat them, And you look at MotoGP, came down to the last, arguably it came down to the last few laps because, but we'll get onto that.
We will.
Look, we've got it in NASCAR.
Yeah.
We've got it in NHRA. We're probably going to end up with it in the V8 Supercars.
Well, I mean, like I said, I don't want to take anything away from the Force family. I think they're great. She won the races when she needed to win it. Let's listen to Steve Torrance, what he had to say about the whole deal.
I mean, it is what it is, I mean, this whole NHRA deal with the welfare point system is just a crock of crap. I mean, you come out here and you race for 24 races and you only get to count 6, and Brittany got hot in the last few races and did good. I mean, you can't take that away from them, but those guys wouldn't even be in contention if it wasn't for this point system they got. So, I mean, it is what it is. We got to play by the rules, but it really doesn't. It doesn't go to show how much of all those guys over there are champions on this race team. I dropped the ball, was late on the tree, but you got to race a guy like Antron, and I just messed up. But congrats to Brittany, great job. She won the championship. It is what it is, but it's still bull.
Congratulations to Brittany, but this is bullshit.
It is what it is. He's been listening to our podcast.
Yeah, it must be. I think that it is what it is has come out 3 or 4 times in this podcast.
Yeah.
And we had a similar situation. I don't want to highlight it.
3 or 4 times in this episode. I didn't even say it. Anyway, I would rather be in Harry's shoes than in Larry Dixon's shoes at the moment.
Well, he's in a bit of hot water, isn't he? So for those of you that don't know, his NHRA licence has been indefinitely suspended.
That's a big thing, indefinitely. That's a big word.
Yeah, it is. Now, he's in breach of violating NHRA rules. Section 1.3.1, participant conduct, and 1.6.3, chassis inspection of the 2017 NHRA rulebook. He has used an NHRA chassis tag on an unauthorised and unapproved 2-seater dragster.
What does that mean?
So what it basically means is that Larry had modified the car. It was a car that was licensed previously. He modified the car to become a 2-seater, and that sticker was left on the vehicle inadvertently.
But it was an expired sticker.
That's correct, yeah.
So you're not allowed to leave it on there for nostalgia purposes?
No.
Apparently not.
No.
So, I've seen this car floating around in background shots. Did they cut it and put a section in for the passenger, or have they just moved the driver's compartment, or built another driver's compartment in front?
That's correct. They moved the driver's compartment in front, put him in front.
So
the passenger sits between him.
Yeah, I know. But if they added the passenger section,
no, the passenger section remained as
the old driver's cockpit.
Yeah, and
because the tubing. I'm not a full bottle. I don't build dragsters, but from memory, the tubing around the driver's compartment is considerably different to the rest of the chassis. So I'm just wondering how they went about that.
The thing is, this car has run. This car has run in that unofficial testing. So it's not as if this car was debuted at SEMA without it being run. It had run, I think, 3 times in a private test session.
Yeah, but they just walk in and hire the track. It's not on the NHRA's insurance.
No. That's correct. Yeah. It was interesting. We played a bit of Shift and Steer podcast 2 weeks ago on our podcast about their interpretation of what right-hand drive controls are in WA. These guys are at it again. I think they may have had something to do with Larry's demise. Let's just have a listen to them here.
Hey, Mike. Now, did you know that Larry Dixon, Top Fuel 3-time champion that's been on our show, that he's here with a big debut this weekend. Did you guys know this?
Right.
Oh, what's Larry got going on?
Well, let me just tell you, you could get your Top Fuel license with Larry. He has a brand new dragster over at the Traxxas booth that is a dual dragster. You ride in a Top Fuel dragster.
Right.
And when he was developing this, he started a couple years ago, and he said to me, I go, so you're going to tune it down? And he goes, hell no, it's going 300 miles an hour.
Oh. Wait a minute. So you ride shotgun with Larry Dixon because
Right?
Well,
I've seen his car
literally.
explode. I've seen his car bust in half. I've seen his car spin around and do a 360 in the middle of the track and keep going.
He's got a
Well,
good
there you
policy.
go.
Are
He's
you
got a good
sure
policy.
this is the right
It's
idea?
a thrill ride. It's like the podcast that we do over at Bond Speed Media, which is Dixon's Wild Ride.
Yeah, you know what? It'd be great because, you've seen it happen at the track when Larry's racing. You can actually be in the car when it happens.
Yeah.
First person point of view.
Larry Dixon's waiver for this just says, ha, 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 sign here.
It says sucker.
It says detached retina insurance.
It's a laughing, crying, laughing emoji, and then that's it.
Well, you can ask him because he's going to be on the show on Friday, so you can ask him.
Good, we're gonna
because
razz him.
because it sounds wickedly fun because
absolutely.
you are riding behind him, and so you have the motor right behind you. It's like Larry's no fool. He goes, hey man, I'm going to get a little space between me and that power.
Yeah. Everything that they said about him spinning out, and I was just reminiscing over those images.
So I think if those guys had their time again, they might have choose their words wisely. I'm not saying it's their fault, but obviously an indefinite suspension is pretty.
I just can't believe it for having a tech sticker. The tech sticker was on that car already.
That's correct. Yeah, but it's not teched for.
No, but it was expired.
Yeah. Anyway,
I don't know.
It is what it is, as you say.
Yeah, I don't know if I would want to ride shotgun.
No, I don't think I would too. I'd love to go on a door slammer, but I don't know about a fueler.
Because when those things explode, there's a lot of fire going on there, and it's usually getting sucked into the cockpit. It's not really. No. But you know what? He is one of my favourite fuel drivers. He just seems like such a nice guy, and it's just incredible that the NHRA would do something as dramatic as to him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, he's kind of Anyway.
With Simon working so closely in the drag racing industry in Western Australia, he was able to find out lots of information, and on several occasions we actually broke news on the podcast before it became public knowledge. Let's listen to a couple of those breaking news stories.
As far as WA goes, I got another bombshell for you, Nick.
Oh wow, we got them. You haven't told me.
No, I haven't told you any
This
of
is
this.
unscripted, folks. This is unscripted.
And the reason I haven't told you is because, like I said to you, is some of the stuff I'm going to bring up, I want to get your instant reaction, So, the Perth Motorplex.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have got some groundbreaking information. So,
Really?
absolutely, yeah, man. Yeah, like this is hot off the press, like so hot off the press they haven't even printed it yet. Rod Britton is gone.
Really?
Yep.
Now, okay.
Is that it? Is that the reaction I'm going to get?
No. I'm really nervous about posting a podcast, and he doesn't know.
Who, Rod?
Rod.
No, he's working in Sydney. So, anyway, Rod's gone and Ray Treasure's back.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yep. So,
that's awesome.
I've been talking to racers I've only been back in Perth the last couple of days, and we're looking forward to a massive season this year of some awesome racing. A lot of the guys that haven't raced for a long time are coming back, specifically because they couldn't deal with... I don't want to call him Noddy. His real name is Kevin Prendergast.
Yep.
Couldn't deal with Kevin or Rod Britton. Now, personally, I've got to say this, right? I had a few run-ins with Rod over the time.
Yep.
But the track prep was pretty good.
Yeah.
Right? The only thing, like we've discussed this before, the time that it took for clean-ups was pretty average. And the track prep on the Wednesday nights, oh my God, like, it was incredible. But Ray, as you know, is like he's a bit of a guide when it comes to this sort of thing. So And I'm sure that the Wednesday nights, because he's a big fan of the street car racing, I'm sure that the Wednesday nights are going to be just as good. So I'm looking forward to this coming season. I don't know how much time I'm going to get to spend down there now that I'm married. So I've got to do my duties as a husband. But bombshell, Ray Trish is back. Rod's gone. I don't know who they've got an interim manager overseeing the place.
Yeah.
Apparently, he's an awesome guy.
Mm-hmm.
He was already in the Venues West system.
Yeah.
He's more of a rock band type promoter guy, well known worldwide on the international stage, right? But he's only there in the interim till they hire a proper manager. So there you go. You heard it first on Talk and Power.
For the uninitiated or our listeners that are out of the listen for other sports like MotoGP, V8 Supercars and Formula One and whatever, Ray Treasure is an absolute gentleman, a scholar, and what he doesn't know about track preparation isn't worth knowing.
Yeah, I'd go with that.
Yeah. But he's, above all, just a great guy, and I know I've said it, he's a gentleman, and I think, if he's come back, watch this space.
Yeah, it's a good look. I think that if Andrew survives this, whatever you want to call it, whether it's a good move or a bad move or whatever, we'll call it the Goodall move. if Andrew survives the Goodall move, and with Ray back in WA, I think that the drag racing in WA is going to, certainly from a competitor's point of view, it's going to move forward. Now, the thing that everyone needs to realise is that basically everyone that competes down there brings 10 spectators with them.
That's right. Yep.
Right? So if you get 100 more competitors, you get 1,000 more spectators, right? And then those spectators generally have mates that come along, and it doesn't take long for that 1,000 to turn into 2,500.
Yeah.
So, it's going to be a good season. I've heard unofficially, and I can't say that this is definite, but I've heard unofficially that the drift cars are gone.
Oh, God, you'll be happy about that, won't you?
God. Look, I got nothing against drifting. I think it's an incredible sport, incredible skill level. I certainly don't think that I could ever do it.
Yeah.
But I'm sure that those people that come to the drags pay to watch drag racing. And I believe that they're going to... Everything that we talked about in the early episodes about having videos going, showing the technical aspect and getting more discussion about how and why and what kind of effort and dollars, etc., is involved in getting these cars to go down the track. I've been told that they're going to focus on that. So when there's an oil down, they're going to get it cleaned up faster, and they're going to try and use that time to educate the crowd rather than, because the thing was, part of the reason, I didn't know this until today, part of the reason that it took so long to do the cleanups is because they weren't allowed to be in certain areas while the drift cars were on.
Oh, God.
So what's the point of having the drift cars on?
That's right.
No. Anyway, it really is a big thing for WA drag racing, and like I said, if we can keep Andrew going and have Ray running the show locally, and hopefully have an overall manager that isn't going to conflict with Ray, because if we get someone in there that conflicts with Ray, forget it. Ray will walk. He doesn't need it, right? I think we've got some exciting times ahead for this season. I'm really looking forward to it. Pro Mod, right? Before we get into Stevie Fast and what's happened.
Yeah.
I was on the phone, and you don't know, we haven't discussed this.
This is not in the notes,
No,
Simon.
it's not in the notes.
Where are we going here?
I was on the phone to my contact in the US.
Yeah.
Right? And, I was basically, me, I'm having a cry that they dropped the overdrive limits, right?
Yep.
Okay, so this is how it came to be, and this is pretty spun out. So Castellana, as you know, ran really fast.
Yep.
Right? I think he actually reset the national record. Is that correct?
68, yeah.
Yep. Okay. They went and checked his car. Right? You were allowed 20 over then.
Yep.
Right? He was running 16 and a half.
You're joking.
Nah. And that was the NHRA said, whoa, what the? So now, whether he's figured out that that's an efficient place for it to be or whatever, that was why they made the call. But this particular contact, he said to me, he goes, this used to happen every year, even with the IHRA. Beginning of the season, they play around with the overdrives. Through the middle of the season, right, the air changes, and back in those days there wasn't any turbo cars, but the nitrous guys would go fast through the middle because they bring their atmosphere in a bottle.
Yeah.
Right. And what did we see at the last meeting? Right, look at the mile an hour on the turbo cars compared to the blown cars.
Yeah.
So, it was interesting that he reset the record at 16.5 over, but I think it's going to be interesting through the middle of the season to see what happens, because I think the nitrous guys are going to step up, and probably the turbo guys too.
Yeah, right. Still in drag racing mode, one of my favourite episodes was actually episode 18, where we got to speak with the legendary John Zappia. It was a 45-minute interview. We've managed to condense it down on this special podcast down to about 8 minutes. But let's just listen to some of the highlights of the John Zappia interview.
John, I just want to change direction for a second with the conversation. First of all, congratulations on the world record, and also congratulations on resetting the Australian record. I've always wanted to know this. For me, when my first experience drag racing when I was 15, I remember I was the old wooden boxes at Ravenswood. I was paying for my ticket, and I heard this noise. It was like a roar with a whistle in the background. And I ran up the stairs, and you were doing one of your trademark three-quarter track burnouts. And at that point, I realised that I wanted to go drag racing. Did you have a moment like that early on in your career? Were you at the track one day and thought, I want to give this a go?
Oh, for sure. Look, I went there with my dad when I was 14. My older brothers were already there. Richard and Joe were already there, and I went with Dad, and he stayed there for a while. And back in those days, I think we had the St. Lawrence dragster, and probably Cowan running a blown altered or something, and we got to see a little bit of it. And then Dad wanted to go home, and I was like, I was crushed, and so I had to go home. Couldn't stay with me brothers because everyone was a bit rowdy in those days. So as soon as I got my licence, I was down there. Sunday street meetings.
There is a famous, world famous pass that we've discussed it a few times. I think we've played audio from it.
It's on our introduction of our podcast.
Yeah, and it's when you race Brenda McSweeney at Calder Park. When you got out on the grass, what were you thinking?
Like, what am I doing here? I had to get out of there, so I hit the throttle, and the tail come around, and I got off it, and I went back on the track, and I hit the throttle again, and it just didn't feel like it was pulling right. I didn't realise I had blown a big hole in the front end, and it was catching wind, and there was all sand and weeds coming out of the car behind me, and that. So, got the win, and it was all good fun. But that was actually, it wasn't actually Wild Bunch. It was.
That was exhibition of Top Door
Slammer. Top Door Slammer meeting.
That was the first
Top Door Slammer meeting, the very first one.
Yep.
At the Australian Nationals.
Well, I think it was fitting for you to win it.
So that was pretty cool.
It was pretty cool. John, I want to take you back just a couple of years before that. That's when I started going to the drags. I went to the drags for the first time. It was late 1992. You were racing a gentleman from the US called Wayne Torkelson. And I remember finally going to the drags and thinking, this guy's from America. And the perception has always been, I guess, for new people, that the Americans lead the way. That evening, I think, from memory, you blitzed him 3-0. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah. I think he got one in because my parachutes
Your parachutes did come out very early.
I nearly beat him with my parachutes, yeah.
You did, yes, that's right.
So that was the only one he beat me. I think he did I can't remember now, but 7-0. And I must have run a bit slower because I had the parachutes out. But then after that, we went like 650s, and he was still in the sevens,
Yeah.
The other one that also came out was Kurt Coons.
Kurt Coons, yeah.
prior to that, and we ran 654, 656s and that back then, and we beat Kurt as well in Perth.
Yeah.
And we went to Adelaide and top qualified, and but then we didn't finish the rest of the tour. That they went on to Willowbank and Sydney, but I couldn't make that. But it was pretty cool, and he copped a bit of a stir, and actually one of that meeting, there was actually a heap of American sailors in. And they all come down to see Australia versus USA. So we did on T-shirt sales that meeting.
No, you did us proud, John. You did us proud.
Do you have you felt over the last 10 years? Because, I mean, let's face it, here in Australia, a lot of the competitors that you've beaten year after year have had extraordinary budgets compared to yours. Have you felt from time to time like you've had a huge target on your back and everyone's trying to gun you down?
Oh, for sure. I mean, they're all spending millions of dollars now and trying to beat us, and there was that many American tuners brought into top door slammer for Sydney meeting. There was probably the most contingents of American tuners over here trying to tune people up, people spending big dollars, people, there's a lot been thrown at it over the years, and they've upped the ante of late, and there's definitely a bigger attack, more cars, better quality. Some people have said, "Oh, we've got no competition over there," and maybe that was true in a sense so many years ago. But I'm telling you now, it's stepping up big time. When you had 3 or 4 cars run a low 70, and Scotty McLean run the 65, and I mean they're there, and they're not leaving much on the table. We just got to keep putting the pressure on.
Yeah.
By going fast. As soon as we go fast, that puts the pressure on them that they're not doing the right thing, and then they start trying too hard.
One thing I've noticed about your crew, I've been going to the drags, as I said, since 92. A lot of those guys are the same guys from back in 92, and probably a lot earlier than that as well. So, I think that's the key.
Same guys.
Yeah,
we're the same guys, and I've taken them around the country, and sometimes you get a little bit of a holiday between racing, but not very much. But they've, I suppose they've been excited by our performances, and that's kept them enthused to keep on helping. The same with the sponsors. Everyone wants to back a winner. And it's been really good. And those guys have all stayed with us, and they haven't gone off onto other crews trying to be crew chiefs and big note themselves somewhere else. They've just stayed with us, or they don't come anymore. So
you're going to try and find some time for fishing this year, John?
Oh, I'd like to. Yeah, I'm racking my brain all the time how I can fit some in. But don't know. We'll see. Maybe on the way home from the Nationals in February, we might be able to stop at Fowler's Bay and throw a line in. But that's not going to be much time for it, unfortunately.
Well, good luck with everything, John. Thanks for your time tonight.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, mate.
Care.
See
ya. Bye. One of my favourite forms of drag racing is actually Radial Racing. In the US, there's a promoter called Donald Long, otherwise known as the Duck. Let's just have a listen to one of his rants just prior to one of his big races taking place in South Georgia Motorsport Park.
The Killing Time Racing team, they've seemed to piss the Duck off pretty bad, hey?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know exactly what happened, but it seems as though Steve Schuler, is that how you pronounce it?
No, Phil Schuler.
Sorry, Phil Schuler.
But they call him Schuler.
Schuler, yeah. Who's the crew chief on...
one of the Schumacher cars now.
Yeah.
It
was Tony's car.
Yeah.
He tried to get into the event for free.
Look, I think I don't know how much Duck is making of this as a bit of a stunt, but he was pretty pissed off this morning.
He looked pretty pissed off. He looked pretty pissed off.
Do you want to have a listen?
Oh, yeah. I could listen to this all day.
And I'm gonna have to do
Yeah. How are you gonna play this?
I'll have to go and put beeps in afterwards.
It's just gonna be one long beep. It's pretty much from start to
Let's
finish.
have your together. When you roll up to the gate, let's have some cash to get in. How about that? Okay? If you can afford now, if you want to pull off a valve cover or a rocker arm and leave it at the gate, that's fine. If you need to sell off a nitrous bottle or a blower belt or whatever you gotta do to get through the then that's what you got to do. But don't come rolling up here, poor mouthing us at the gate, and then call up like we're treating you like some kind of criminals. You're the one trying to get through the gate without paying, not us. It's 7 months to come up with like $4 Killing time racing in bad That's some grudge racing, no time shit right there. Phil Schuler, when you lose the bet, PayPal ready. You ain't got 37 cents to get through the gate. Now let's get together. Get Stevie Jackson over here and get this bill paid. This ain't no time.
I really look. I love the Duck. I think he's great for the sport, but I really do question when you alienate one of the biggest names in the sport. I understand where he's coming from, but surely it could have been handled in a little bit more diplomatic fashion.
Look, I get the feeling that look, we've all jumped on the Stevie Fast bandwagon, right? Yeah. And obviously his popularity, because we're all talking about him, has grown to the point where maybe the guys from Killing Time, Phil and Stevie, maybe they think they should be getting paid appearance money.
Now, our favourite event. I should preface that with my favourite event. Radial versus the World No Mercy 8 was on the same weekend as Bathurst. Unfortunately for these guys, they had to bring everything a day forward because another hurricane was impeding on them. The same with Lights Out 8 as well. They had to bring everything forward because a cyclone, hurricane they call it.
But they still finished the meeting, didn't they?
They do. They always
no excuses.
The Duck always finishes his meetings. He doesn't like. They do not like splitting prize money. It's one of they don't like having to split prize money, so they always. They brought the whole event a day forward, so they squished up all their qualifying into the, I think it was the Friday, so they could get eliminations. The first round of eliminations was done on the Friday night. So Marty Stinnett, small block Chev, Fox body Mustang, top qualifier against arguably probably the toughest Radial versus the World field. I've only got the top 8 there.
And they're all in the 370s. Yeah. Now, that is just unbelievable.
Yeah.
That is incredible.
It is.
You've got to wonder how light that car is.
Don't know. He would be...
He gets a break
for
a small block.
He does, yeah. He gets a break for a small block, and he also gets a break because it's not a pro mod.
Oh, it's got rails in it.
Yeah.
Everything else is pro mod, but it's got 2 chassis rails in it. This is one of the things that Aidan and I were talking about today.
Yeah. But to top qualify in a small block Chev, in a Fox body Mustang, the Duck would have been in his element because this is the essence of Radial versus the World. Radial versus the World started out as that car, not that particular car, but that type of car, and morphed into now Stevie Fast's Camaro and cars of the like.
Look, I think the Shadow before it became the Shadow.
Yeah, the original Shadow
Orange Tomato or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
That was the epitome of a radial car.
Yeah.
But it's something got lost in translation. I don't know.
Yeah.
The thing is though, I still want to see how much glue these guys put down to go 370 on a 315 rating.
Let's have a look. We can have a look.
There must be spider webs coming off the tyre as it leaves the start line.
There's always spider webs. Let's have a look here. look effortless, doesn't it?
Yeah, they make it look so easy.
Yeah.
That's just...
So that was the top qualifying run. I do have another video of Dwayne's win, but I'm not going to play that because the quality is not the best and that you don't really see it all that well. So, but Dwayne Mills went on to win the event. Now, Dwayne is no stranger to winning No Mercy. He has won it before, and he's taken the 50 grand before. Now, I don't know if you remember, Dwayne drives the Golden Gorilla. That's the car that had a massive flip about 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So it's good to see him. He's since come back from that massive flip and win 2 events.
It was good to see Stevie Fast in the final.
Got to the final as well, yeah. Stevie Fast. It's an honourable mention to Stevie Fast as well to get to the final. The problem they're going to have next year is that the NHRA, in their infinite wisdom, whether they've done it on purpose or not, have actually scheduled an event the same weekend as No Mercy. So it will make scheduling of these crew chiefs quite difficult and tricky.
Oh, it's going to come down to which event the Sheik wants to win. That's pretty much what's going to happen.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
The NHRA would be feeling the heat of all this radial racing, the popularity of it.
I never thought, though, they've never had a conflict of dates because the Duck has his dates set. These dates flow on year on year.
Yeah.
But this is the first time they've conflicted, so it'll be interesting to see what happens in 12 months' time.
You never know, the Duck might move his event.
The sort of guy he is, I wouldn't think so. But anyway, I could be wrong.
I mean, look, after that rant about Stevie Fast and...
not paying.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that he's probably not worried.
No. He's
probably going to encourage him to stay home.
Yeah. One of the most popular segments we had feedback on was regarding cash days. We thought we'd just touch over that again with a brief introduction and explanation of what cash days actually was and how it unfolded.
I was a bit surprised that the cash days didn't make the news after the the big arrest there.
Openly, we don't support street racing. I mean, cash days, for our listeners that don't know, cash days is an underground event where 32 or 16 cars are gathered. This was in the United States.
Invitation only.
Invitation only, yep. Now, I might be a bit coy here, and I don't think we should mention any names, should we? Or we should be right, you reckon, to mention names?
I guess so. I don't.
You can
no
Google.
One's going to sue us.
you can Google this. Anyway, there were some street outlaws, a number of street outlaws, guys on street outlaws that were present, not only from the Oklahoma series.
Allegedly present.
Allegedly present. But
we
also,
weren't there,
no,
so we can't say
there.
for sure that they were there.
Anyway, Discovery weren't invited along, but 1320 Video were, and the guy Kyle, his name is, he's gone along and filmed it. So unfortunately, it's been over 2 nights, and clearly when you have 32 cars, you get down to 16, you get down to 8, so on and so forth.
Real drag racing, not 3-round format, chunder 400 racing.
Real drag racing, $500 buy-in, so the pot's 16 grand at the end of the day. So they got to the final, and so we're going to say names. I guess we say names.
No, you're probably better off calling it by the car.
Yeah. We'll call it. Bird Boys
and Blackbird Vega.
Yeah. So Street Outlaws New Orleans and Street Outlaws Oklahoma. So they've made it to the final. So they've lined their cars up for the final.
So for those of you that don't know, that was Nitrous Big Block versus ProCharge Small Block.
That's correct. Yep. So the race prior to that, Daddy Dave has had an engine let go, and he's oiled down where they were hoping to race. So they've had to go on the other side of the road and race the other way down the street into oncoming traffic. So,
as you do.
Yeah. So I think this was about 4:30 a.m. in the morning. They've closed the road, as they do, illegally, close the road.
Just for those of you that don't or do follow Street Outlaws, most of their stuff is, glammed up Discovery Channel for the for the TV, regardless of what they claim. The roads are blocked. They have lighting towers.
Yeah,
you don't go to
Yeah.
street races and have lighting towers. You know, no one rings up Coates Hire and gets lighting towers. Yeah, we're gonna block Vale Street, and it doesn't work like that in the real world. This is the real thing, you know. So sorry, carry on, Nick. Carry on.
So they've the two of them have lined up. They're going down the other opposite way down the traffic would normally go. They've closed the end of the street. Now, unbeknownst to them, just as they're staging their cars, police have turned up at the other end of the track. Now, the flagger at the other end of the track, at the big end, he's noticed. So he's turned his flashlight on to say abort race. The message didn't get through to the starter. And just as the cars are leaving, you see a guy on the side try to jump in front of the cars. But anyway, the cars get away.
Yeah, he actually did try to jump in front of the cars.
Literally, yeah.
So this has created a bit of controversy because, you know, the deal is if the race doesn't get clearly won or the race doesn't get completed, they split the prize money. And as it turns out, one of the cars got on the brakes early, turned right, and somehow, miraculously, avoided being arrested. The other one got arrested, impounded, etc., 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 and I believe spent the night in jail.
Yeah.
And he was arguably the winner if that was a run. But
I think, in my book, he was the winner as well. Because he's completed the race, but look, they're deeming that the race wasn't complete because they turned the light on before the starter. The race was aborted. Look, I mean, you could argue both ways, I guess.
But you know what I got out of it? There's a video. I think you're gonna post the link to the video.
Yeah. Well, let's just have a listen here to some of the footage here. We'll just have a listen here.
Here we go. Biggest pot in Casta's history on the street. 15.5 grand. This is the final. It's too bad to have. Hope it all goes down. They stay straight. Make a good race.
Holy shit, that's a cop.
Oh, f me. That's not good. Oh, no. Well, we got our race, but this is not what we want at all. Right in front of them. This could be...
He went directly into some fucking cops. Holy... There's like 4 or 5 cops down there. I knew it was taking way too long to get the shit off.
What's going on, man? Won't you win? Yeah? All right, man, do me a favor. Just hang out here at the front of your car for me. I'm assuming you have a trailer and everything else, correct? Are they all down there? Okay, let's get the tow cap off. Let's take the front cap off. Let's get the tow. Turn the nitrous off. Turn the nitrous off there. Oh, let's get the tow.
Well, he's going to jail.
So there was a truck driver in there, and he said that there was a truck driver on the radio bragging about he called the cops on us racing. So he's the one that called. So they rolled in randomly? Yeah, they rolled in.
Yeah.
So if you get a chance to watch the video and you watch it right through to the end, what's really cool is, you know, I don't know how many of our listeners have been in trouble with the police, but they're not normally as cool as these police are.
No.
They're actually pretty casual about the whole thing.
Yeah. But he got old, we'll just keep calling him Bird Boys, but he kind of caught him out, didn't he? Because he's asked Bird Boys, did you win? And he said, yeah. Straight away, he's done for street racing.
Anyway, let's just hope that the fine, the impound fees and all of that was less than the $7.5 grand that he won.
Do you know he got his car out the following day?
Oh.
Yeah, the car was out the following day.
They didn't have Rob Johnson as a police minister.
No. So those of you in WA that think our hoon laws are soft, and I'm not going to say they are or they're not. Over in the US, this guy's been caught with basically a pro stock. He looks like
top door slammer.
Yeah, basically.
An A-altered production nitrous car.
Yeah, on the street with no... I don't think it's got no, it might have headlights. I can't remember.
It had headlights.
Yeah,
it had 730 cubic inches of nitrous-fed all-American muscle.
Been caught on the street and he got his car out the day after. So, and I think he spent 16 hours in jail, and he was out the following day, obviously. So, there you go. We also made light of a number of things that happened in drag racing. One in particular was the fight between Tanner Gray and Alex Laughlin in Pro Stock. But I think the real, and I hate to bring in this sort of thing, but I think the talking point out of the Royal Purple Nationals was this incident between Alex Laughlin and Tanner Gray. Now, Tanner being Johnny Gray's son, who's of Pro Stock ilk, racing against Alex Laughlin. Now, you may remember we talked about Alex in our first podcast where we spoke about Street Outlaws. How Alex was driving the Gas Monkey car, the blow-on Gas Monkey car. This is the same guy.
Yeah.
So they've gone in qualifying. The thought was that Tanner felt he was left to hang out to dry a little bit on the staging. Alex may have held him out a little bit. And anyway, they had a little bit of an altercation at the top end of the track. No, just a couple of words.
I believe what he said to him. I love it. I really dig what he said. How did that pan out for you?
He did. Those were his exact words. Yes. How did that pan out for you? So they've come back to the pits, and a bit of a brawl has erupted between the basically the owners and the crew as well. Anyway, this is what Tanner had to say about the incident.
Yeah, no, it all started back in Seattle with that group. There was some words said on the starting line in Seattle that kind of transpired into a fight in the pits, and the elite team was threatening one of our crew members that they were going to find him alone and beat him up. And, so I think it's just kind of gone on, and everybody's kind of bad-mouthed each other's team. But as soon as we say something about their team, it turns into a fight, and they want to fight, and they think it's the end of the world. So, I think it's just definitely a double-standard deal.
The general consensus, because of, the money that the Greys have got tied up in the sport, is that Tanner is a sport brat, right?
Yep.
But, look at Alex and, the Street Outlaws deal and losing that race. I mean, I've got no sympathy for Alex whatsoever.
No.
I can't help if I was driving, right, and someone tried to, hang me out, burn me down, whatever you want to call it, and then I smoked him, I would want to give him a bit of shit at the finish line too.
Yeah, well, I think that's all that happened. But unfortunately, Richard Freeman, and I think the world of Richard Freeman, I think what he's done for Pro Stock in the last few years has been really good. He's gotten involved in this. He's given Tanner the eyes and may have said, "What are you looking at?" And Tanner throws his hand up and says, "Bring it on." Anyway, let's just listen to what Richard had to say about the incident as well.
We're all out here trying to win races and do the best we can. And, Erica went red there, so there's some things. Alex Laughlin got into it with Tanner down there. And, we all want to win, but there's animosity between those camps. And we've all decided we're going to settle it out here on the racetrack, and we'll see how that works.
I think that's a good decision, my friend.
If that doesn't work, we'll do it another way.
So, yeah. You
Have you seen the video?
Yeah, I have, yeah.
It looks like it's straight out of Street Outlaws.
Yeah.
There's
it does.
No ifs or buts about it. So, I'd say, my opinion is that, Alex has brought a bit of that show into the Pro Stock. And, look, I know they're trying to raise awareness, because most people, now that Pro Mod's, getting some airtime on TV, most people have forgotten what Pro Stock is and the lack of bonnet scoops and the EFI. It's really a class that's going nowhere. So I guess trying to make it a bit more like Street Outlaws it's probably going to help them in the long run. I mean, we're talking about it. I'm sure other people are talking about it.
Well, I did say at the time I felt it was something that the guys that Pro Stock needed. I'm not advocating violence. Please don't think that.
Do you really think there was violence there?
No,
Looked like a NASCAR fight.
It had Joe Logano and Kyle Busch written all over it. But I don't want to instigate that. That's not what I'm about. But
anyway, listen. Let's stop talking about slow stock.
Yeah, slow stock. The one thing Simon and I certainly don't agree on is the V8 supercars and our love for it. It's interesting to listen over the episodes, our varying opinions on it. One thing we do agree on is that the sport is probably heading in the wrong direction or on a downward spiral. But let's listen to some of our discussions regarding V8 supercars and their feeder categories in 2017. As you said, the sport needs to be run by people that can run a business and make money. Clearly, these guys haven't done that.
They've got to have a good product, right?
Yep.
Right now, what they've got is a combination of what the teams wanted and the drivers wanted, right? Neither of those people are the ones that need to sit and watch it.
Yeah, that's
so
right.
What they need is the spectators to have input in where the direction of the class needs to go.
Yeah.
And I've got to tell you, the other thing that I'm getting out of this from talking to different people is that a lot of people go to those races not because they like what they're seeing nowadays, but because they're loyal V8 fans. Okay, so just like when I was a kid, you know, I'd get up and watch Hardy's Heroes and, you know, all that leading up to Bathurst. That was like a big weekend for me. These guys feel, and girls, feel as though that they have to go through all emotions, even though they actually dislike the category at the moment. You know, I think you're one of these people.
I am. You have you been talking with my wife? Because that is exactly what happens here, especially Bathurst weekend. I have this obligatory need to watch the qualifying, and I like watching it. But if I didn't watch it, I'd feel, geez, have I missed out? Have I missed out on something? Have I not? You know, and I've got to get up early. I make these poor children get up early and watch it with me as well. But am I barking up the wrong tree? Is this not for me anymore? I still enjoy it, but when I see stuff like this, you know, quitting the business for less than half of what you paid for it, I'm sorry, the alarm bells are ringing, guys.
Listen, Nick, if we're going to get into a counselling session, I'm going to have to put you on the clock.
Okay.
Right, so... Anyway, listen, enough about the actual V8s, right? The trucks. Right. Everyone's talking about the trucks.
They are talking about the trucks for the wrong reasons. For the wrong reasons.
I don't know. If you listen to that that recording...
Well, let's just have a listen to the initial report on the Sunday evening. This was as the news broke. Let's just have a listen here.
Good evening. It seems not all of the high-octane action has been restricted to Hidden Valley this weekend, with a super truck caught doing burnouts in the city. Catherine Foran joins us now live from Mitchell Street with the exclusive details. Catherine, what can you tell us?
Jono, police were there waiting after the last race at Hidden Valley this evening after a truck, one of the event's super trucks, was filmed doing burnouts here on Mitchell Street last night. Several videos of the Devil Bliss super truck has been posted on social media. In the footage, you can see it do several donuts just metres from where people are standing, creating smoke and marking the road before it's seen erratically driving off. It's a black mark on what was otherwise a very successful weekend of motorsport.
Yes, behaviour like that should be restricted to the racetrack. Catherine, thank you.
I like that little closing slap from the anchorman.
Should be restricted to Kings Park. No, hang on. Should be restricted to Scarborough Car Park.
That's right. It's like Rick Arden and Susanna Carr coming on and giving a little closing slap at the end there, you know?
Look, you know, the media is the media, Nick. The media is the media.
It is. Look, at this stage, they didn't know who it was. Now, it was late Sunday that they actually impounded the car, and then we found out it was actually Robin Gordon himself. Let's just have a listen to Robbie Gordon after court.
done stuff like this probably 200 or 300 times over my career. There was 2 security guards there. I asked them, hey, think I can whip a couple doughies? They said, I don't care. Heck, some cities promote it. Unfortunately, here in Northern Territory, they frown on it, so it is what it is. I think I did 2 donuts maybe at speed, just so we can, not to make excuses, but probably less than 5K an hour. I own the series. We make the rules. If we come back next year, obviously, no donuts on Mitchell Street.
Yeah. Robbie, they frown upon it everywhere. So the truck's been impounded for 28 days, is that correct?
No, he got it back 2 days later. I don't know how that works. That's got me stuffed.
Oh, it's different rules.
Yeah, 2 days.
So you can do donuts, apparently. Didn't look like a crowd to me, but apparently on a crowded street.
Yeah.
In an unregistered vehicle.
Yep.
Right? And your car doesn't get impounded. Is this a precedent? Should we be getting the papers through Freedom of Information and making it available to the public?
I don't know what was done there, but I mean, if we want to talk about this, what about Troy Buswell?
Didn't he get busted?
He got busted. The car never got impounded.
Oh, but it was a government car, wasn't it?
Yeah. Never got locked up for 28 days.
Anyway, moving on. They unveiled the super utes. I'm not sure the word super should be associated with these things. Maybe the trader utes. What are they? Are they meant to be a crossover, Nick?
Do you know what my mum says? My mum always says, Nick, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say it at all. But I'm kind of obligated to give my opinion here.
Are they like the soccer dad of Brute Ute series? Is that what they are?
Look, some dear friends of mine drive these sorts of cars as
but they're tradies.
Yeah, they're tradies. That's right. They're grano workers,
carpenters,
they're builders, and then you know what? And I shouldn't mock them or those cars because we all go fishing at the end of the year and we have a great time in them. But that's what they're for. They're for fishing.
Look, we've got a Mitsubishi Triton, and I've been trying to get my head around this because the thing sits like a 4-wheel drive, right? It would be the worst possible platform to build some sort of vehicle that has to go around corners. Now, I don't know. Where are they going with this?
I didn't like it at all. I did not like it at all. I don't understand it. It's literally a Triton Ute. They only had one out on the track. Craig Dontis was driving it. Let's listen to what he had to say here.
What is the new East Coast Boulevard Super Ute like to drive?
It's pretty damn good. Look, I obviously only a small time in the car, but there's lots of potential to unlocking one of these big bad boys.
Totally different to what you're used to driving in the Utes. Talk through the brakes in particular, because a lot of work there.
Yeah, look, it's more like a supercar. So we run a pedal box, no booster. So my little legs, I've got to push as hard as I can on the brake pedal, but it's more like a race car in the braking side of it, whereas the old Ute, you just breathe on the brake pedal and you can lock a wheel.
Incredibly technical suspension package on these cars as well. How did that feel handling-wise?
Yeah, handling-wise, good turn. A little bit stiff in the rear, so it's like a little bit like a golf buggy or something. But the biggest thing I was impressed with is it's a complete new driving style. So with the turbo, you're pulling gears where you should be changing down on an old Ute, and it's going to achieve its power completely differently. Low revs, high torque, so where you're probably in second, you're in third, and where you're in third, you're in fourth, and vice versa. So I think the guys that get their heads around them really fast will be at the front of the field. So for me, it's exciting. I'm an old dog, so something new. I think you can teach an old dog some new tricks and we can have some fun. The punters, I think they'll come to the fences and watch these things, so they're big, they're bad, and I reckon we'll make it ugly too.
Look, the first question I've got, Nick, is what was that crap they were playing in the background of that?
Well, the music fed in earlier. They were driving the car around the track, and they had to put the music in over the engine because there was nothing exciting about that.
So they... How are they like a V8 supercar?
Nothing.
I mean,
they got a pedal box.
They got a pedal box.
Look, I mean, Craig's not going to come out and bag it, obviously, and Craig's obviously doing the right thing by the sport. But seriously, this is not exciting.
I noticed he said it was turbocharged. Is it a diesel? Is it?
Yes. Anyway, look, I don't want to bag it, but this is the sort of sport that belongs at Wakefield Park on a Sunday afternoon. Not for the top.
Maybe what they need to do is jack the suspension, put some jumps on the track, and take a page out of the.
Well, you think Robbie Gordon won't be coming back anytime soon?
Maybe that's what they're doing. I don't know. I'm just trying to get my head around how a turbo diesel Triton. At least I bought the petrol version.
Yeah.
You know, turbo diesel Triton is some sort of performance vehicle. Oh, it's got a pedal box. I keep forgetting. They got rid of the booster. Right.
Anyway,
but they're trying to make it sound like these are somehow better than the old V8 Holden and V8 Ford.
Well, they're not. That's the sad reality. So, like I said, I don't want to bag Craig Dontis, but this is not for the Tier 1 motorsport of Australia.
So, do you think that they've deliberately tried to make them look like trophy trucks with the tyres hanging out and the four drive-ish type tyres?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's part of the appeal of that vehicle for even like the tradies as we know it. They like to put the big tyres on them and whatnot, but I don't know, it doesn't have a fit on a racetrack. So
anyway.
I can't see it flourishing, to be honest. That's just my view anyway.
Did you watch Bathurst?
Parts of. I didn't watch all of it, believe it or not, but I watched the last. I had a car show that I was involved with the same day, but I managed to catch the last 30 laps of Bathurst.
What'd you think?
It was good for Betty Clemenco.
Yeah, it was a huge win for, that was really, it's cliche, but David and Goliath, that's really what it was.
It was, yeah, and Betty's been in the sport now for numerous years. I think it's around about 6.5 years from when she bought out the Stone Brothers Racing. She's had her ups and downs with the sport and the category, going Mercedes and now falling out with them and going and holding again. But it was good to see her win. It's her first breakthrough win.
And the lap of the gods?
I want to talk about that. Let's just have a listen to it as it unfolded. I want to have we'll have a quick chat about that.
This is going to be very, very close as a result of that. From the Sunday in Darwin, McLaughlin owned the Armour All poles all the way up to the end of Sydney Motorsport Park. When we got to Sandown, Cam Waters and Richie Stanaway snatched it away.
No
but
way!
How is the number? And he did it with two wheels in the dirt. McLaughlin is flying. We might see a 3. They're holding their breath at Shell V-Power Racing. Coulthard's in the background. They're watching at Erebus. Can he get it through the chase squarely? Uses the apron on the entry. It's pulling up straight. Feeds at second gear. No curb. Direction change. Gear change. It sits nicely. It didn't slide on the gear change. Ludo's excited. He can see the micro sectors. This might be the biggest lap ever at Mount Panorama. And McLaughlin comes to the line. Yes! He's done a 2-minute 3.8. They've gone berserk at Shell V-Power Racing. That is off the scale. That's his dad, Wayne. That is off the scale fast.
Well, that is absolutely out of control. Total elation. Let's just soak it up.
I don't know if I agree with that. I think that was completely in control.
Yeah, it looked in control. But the point that I make, the kind of elephant in the room, and if you allow me to, I know I've completely stuffed that up. But
he used every single inch of that track.
Let's just put the numbers on this. This is what I wanted to talk about. He got the pole spot by 4/10, not 1/10, not 2/10, but 4/10. The next 4 cars had 4/10 over him. The next 4 cars. So he's got that pole position by 4/10. The interesting thing was the next day they blew a motor. So have we gone back? This is what I wanted to ask you. Have we gone back to the 80s and early 90s where we put a hot motor in? Did Ryan Story have this Windsor over there in the corner and said that's our Bathurst motor that we're going to get pole with? And
I would imagine that, I mean, I don't know. I've never worked for one of these teams, but if I was the crew chief or team manager, I'd have one of those motors for every track. Why wouldn't you?
Oh, it's just we haven't seen that sort of domination in pole by 4/10.
The thing is, though, right? I when I looked at the rules a long time ago, they had this box that the motor had to fit in, which I don't understand how you can tell an engine developer it needs to make peak torque at this RPM, and you know what I mean? Because that's kind of like, it's a weird one, but apparently they have to have it fall into this area. So I don't know if they got rules that govern the gudgeon pin size, the big end size, the weight of components. More and more motorsports are taking all of that development out of the equation and saying you have to run this size bearing, you have to run, you know what I mean, like a Formula V engine or something. So I don't know how far these guys get into it, but I mean, who cares if it blew the motor? It was a killer lap.
It was a killer lap, and unfortunately, depends on what way you want to look at it. I think that's what the 2017 Bathurst will be remembered for, is that the new lap of the gods. I guess they'll come up with a new name for it.
Mate, he did not miss a single...
No.
Like, I can't even picture that you could do a better lap with today's technology. He used every bit of that track. He hit every apex. That car was on the minimum amount of rubber it could possibly be on for, every corner that he took. It was just, the saying where all your ducks are in line. Well, mate, lucky he didn't have a shotgun, because...
It was good to look. I mean, I was really impressed by it. It received worldwide acclaim. Like a number of drivers, Will Power commented on it over Twitter. Dale Earnhardt Jr. as well commented on it. So it's received worldwide acclaim.
They love Bathurst in the US, but they still think they're production cars.
They do. Speaking of the US...
Which they are, aren't they, Nick? It's exactly showroom.
It's XR8.
Showroom XR8.
Along with our John Zappia interview, we were also privileged enough to speak with young Matt Price from WA. Matt is making his way through the CIV Championships in Italy. Let's just have a listen to the Matt Price interview. Matt, to be honest with you, I didn't know a hell of a lot about yourself, but we've been asked by a number of listeners of our podcast to get you on and have a chat. So that's what we've gone ahead and done. And after I've done a bit of research on yourself, I found that you're really gone into motorcycle racing pretty full on in the last couple of years. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you sort of started in 2015. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it's been a pretty wild ride, to be honest. But my dad always said, anything worth doing, put your heart into it. So
sure.
Yeah, it's been a wild ride, but no, we're going places where we want to be going. So it's been a joy.
Matt, let me start by congratulating you. I mean, huge move to go from clubbing 600s and to be where you are at the moment. How did it feel when you first got on the Italian soil there and you were, the initial testing? Was it overwhelming or did you find it natural?
Yeah, thanks. No, it was like a dream come true. It was pinching moments when I first walked into Mugello circuit and there was GT cars going around in between with the bikes out, just club riders. But just the actual scenery of the Grand Prix circuit and everything itself when I first arrived, it was honestly just pinching yourself moment. It was like any person into motorsport, it was their absolute heaven. And to be able to go over there and be testing a ZX10 Kawasaki Superbike that was just the icing on the cake. But in terms of coming to grips with it and everything, like the 2 test days I did over there, it could not have gone any better. My progression through both of them days and keeping the thing shiny side up was a real good start to my racing career over in Italy. Even though we weren't racing, it was a good to get that testing behind us, and it was more to see if I was good enough to be over there, because we didn't just want to go over and not be competitive, because it wouldn't further my career as a racer to be so far off the pace kind of thing.
And the ZX10 that you were riding, is that a lot different to the road-going version? Are they heavily modified, or are they sort of based around because the road bikes, the ZX10 is considered at the moment one of the hot ticket bikes in terms of how much power it's got.
Yeah. The bikes, they pretty much look the same, but apart from that, that's where it pretty much ends, because with the engine tuning and things that you can do within the Superbike regulations, because they're all FIM, so it's full World Superbike spec if you want to run it. The bikes are really far-fetched from the real thing. I mean, the biggest difference is the amount of engine work you can do to them, whereas the Australian rules, they're very limited. But over in Europe, they run full FIM regulations, so the actual amount of work that can be done to these bikes is incredible. I think my ZX10, I had a couple of engines last year, but one of them was producing 229 horsepower at the rear wheel on a bike that weighs 171 kilos, I think. So it was 3 kilos heavier than my Super Sport bike in Australia, but it had an extra 102 horsepower.
That's incredible. I race a GSXR from time to time, and it's not an over-the-top engine, but the best I've managed is about 170, so I can't imagine what another 50, 60 horsepower would feel like. That's incredible.
Yeah, it is. It honestly takes so much adjusting, and that's what I've really had to come to terms with this year, because the characteristics, when you put that much horsepower inside a bike with very similar chassis, it changes the characteristics massively, and that's why bike setup becomes so much more crucial.
Now the King Racing team, they're based in northern Italy. I'm probably not going to pronounce this properly, which is sad because I'm Italian, but Reggio Emilia, is that now?
Reggio Emilia.
Reggio Emilia, there you go. That's not far away from Modena and Bologna.
Yeah, that's right.
So that's basically the Detroit of Italy.
Yeah.
Have you had a chance to go to Ferrari or Lamborghini or Ducati and check out the factories?
Yeah, we did actually. When I went over for testing, my 2 test days were split up over a race weekend. So I did 1 day's testing, then it was the CIV final round, and then I had my second test day on the Monday after the race meeting. So just so we weren't in the team's hair the whole weekend, we managed to jump down to Bologna to go to the Ducati factory. And on the following day, we were able to get to the Lamborghini factory, which is also based in Bologna. So it was a pretty special 2 days. And it was incredible to see that sort of memorabilia all in one place.
You're making us both very jealous at the moment.
Hey Matt, I wanted to touch on in 2017, you raced in what the CIV Championships called the National Trophy 1000cc. So, correct me if I'm wrong. That National Trophy's been around for about 11 years or 10 years. So, is that? I guess without knowing too much about it, is that like a feeder group into some sort of other, like into superbikes?
Yeah, well, basically, in Italy, the CIV Superbike paddock is full. It's fully subscribed, so guys are competing to get wildcard events into the Superbike rounds, and you're also getting your World Superbike riders trying to wildcard into the championship as well. But because they're not fully listed, there's a lot of opportunity for their big stars of the sport not being able to get on track. So they've developed National Trophy, which is basically it's a feeder group for CIB Superbike, but there's obviously people wanting Glory and National Trophy because it's ran on the same weekends with the same teams there and everything else. Because this year, I think we had pretty high hopes of how we'd go, but it was apparent from the first round. I currently had it was 9 permanent World Superstock riders in the championship, and there was wild cards on top of that from World Superbike and World Supersport riders. So just to get a point scoring position, you'd have to be pretty close to world class, with it being on their home circuits as well, which is what I had to learn this year.
Yeah, okay.
To be honest, the last 3 years I've had so much help from so many people, it's not even funny. And one of my main sponsors was Joondalup Carpet Corp, and I spoke to him in person after my first ever club race, and I basically just asked if he'd help me out with costs of running club racing for the year, and he in return I advertised for him, and that was basically my first sponsorship deal. And no, it's still going strong now, because his support's been second to none, and without their help I wouldn't be over in Italy racing some of the world's best on the best Grand Prix circuits around. So Joondalup Carpet Court were a great influential tool for me to be able to take my career to the next level. I also had Mark Gill from Leading Edge Motorcycle Sport, which kind of bought this whole deal with me going over to Europe, because he was approached by one of King Racing Team's engineers, and basically with results shown and the test got set up and the test went really well, it all just snowballed, and I landed myself on a superbike in Italy. And without his help getting my riding to the level it was at to be noticed by these people, I'd probably still be doing state rounds in WA or nationals in Supersport. So he was a real big influence in my racing career. Moto Alliance have always been there from day one. They're basically anything I can't get hold of or my sponsors don't supply, they supply to me. And it's just great having that kind of support, because there was times, especially when we did nationals, we were cartwheeling the bike, learning how it worked, and then we'd have to rebuild it and try and get it out for the next race. And the amount of fiberglass we went through, I think everyone in my family's got fiberglass splinters. But it's been full on. I've had so much help, and I also had Ricondi Leathers. They've been fantastic. I've had custom suits off them the last 2 years, and like I said, I've had plenty of fiberglass splinters, but luckily I've not broke any bones, because their suits have been absolutely top notch. And they've kept me safe and sound even when I've had some of my biggest crashes. So no, without their help, I would probably be in a wheelchair, I reckon.
Well, I'll tell you, Matt, you've definitely got a huge fan base over here, and it's growing day by day, and we look forward to seeing you win a few races this season, and we'll be cheering for you, that's for sure.
Yeah, cool. Thanks a lot for your help, guys, and support. It goes a long way.
Thanks for taking the time out for the interview, Matt.
Thanks, Matt. Yeah, we really appreciate your time coming on here tonight.
No worries. Thanks, guys. It's been a pleasure.
Okay, take care.
Cheers. Bye.
We were also lucky enough to have an international mention. We got mentioned on the Kibbe and Finnegan podcast. Let's just have a listen to that one.
I'd like to point out that this is also our first podcast in the wet.
It is.
So all the Commodore drivers out there be up 100 horsepower tonight.
Oh, they would be, wouldn't they?
Yeah. And I'm sure that at some stage or another we're going to hear one flying past the house.
I'm surprised we haven't heard one yet, to be honest. It is the hoon capital of the world.
Speaking of hooning...
Hooning, yeah. Look, we've gone international this week. Did you know? we had a mention on the Kibby and Finnegan show.
Now, let me get this right. Is this the guys from Roadkill?
No, half.
Half
Mike
the guy.
Finnegan, half. Mike Finnegan, he's from the Roadkill.
Is it the road part or the kill part?
Road. We'll go with that.
The
Yeah,
road
right.
part.
Yeah, so Mike Finnegan, he's part of the Roadkill show, but Rob Kibby, he has a podcast called The Muscle Car Place online. I've always listened to them. So the Kibby and Finnegan show, he's responsible for. Well, they talk about Dukes of Hazzard, so they review each Dukes of Hazzard episode one by one. I dropped them an email because in many ways these guys were a bit of an inspiration of mine to do what we do here. I didn't expect them to say anything. I just wrote them an email. And let's just listen to what they had to say.
Nick, I'll try Nick. Nick December, I think, but it's spelled Dicembre. Nick December. G'day, Robert. Where is he from?
Canada.
G'day. That's how it starts. G'day, Robert.
Oh, Australia.
Yep, he is from Australia. So my name is Nick December from Down Under. Love the Muscle Car Place and Kibby and Finnegan Show podcast. A good friend of mine and myself have also started a podcast down here called Torque Power. It is on iTunes and SoundCloud and hosted on my site. We talk drag racing, V8 Supercars, F1, NHRA, NASCAR, and MotoGP.
Nice.
So if you want to hear the world from a upside down perspective, go there. TorquePower.net. That's the website. And he sent me some other stuff too, and it was a little more personal, so I replied to that. But it was very, very nice. So Nick, thank you for that.
Nick December.
Yeah, Nick December. That's all right, Robert. I understand.
I don't know about the upside down perspective. I think we're the right way up.
We are the right way up. Thank you, Robert.
But you know what the problem with that is? If we're the right way up, that means Tasmania is the top of the world.
Yeah, that's correct. We can't have that. One of my personal favourite motorsports is Formula One. Unfortunately, my co-host doesn't see it the same way, so we often have disagreements or, I guess, difference of opinions on Formula One. Let's just have a listen to a couple of segments that we spoke about regarding Formula One during the year.
All right, so here's a bit of a reality check, okay? And this is why I don't understand the KERS, PERS, WERS,
MGU,
MKR, whatever it is, right? So the current engines, I'd say there's some restrictions, whether it be boost limit or whatever it is, okay? But they're how many litres?
1.6.
1.6, okay? And we go back to the 80s. With our 1.5, right, straight turbo, no MKR, KERS, BERS, none of that stuff, and they were making 1,300 horsepower.
It's incredible, isn't it?
And I don't think they had the pneumatic valve springs or any of that crap back in those days. No. Their fuel injection probably involved some thumb screws or something.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Is any of that crap? I mean, is it good for the sport?
I don't think it is. No, I used to be of the opinion that Formula One should show you technology. It's interesting that you bring this up. The Sebastian Vettel, Lewis Hamilton, Fernando Alonso and Daniel Ricciardo got together at the start of the year, and they were asked what would they like to see in Formula One. Let's have a listen to what they said.
What would be your wish list, top 3 wishes for the new owners of F1?
Race in Vegas.
Race in Germany.
I've said mine.
Miami race. More ladies in the paddock. Yeah, more paddock access to some women. There's too many dudes.
V12.
V12s. I agree.
Are we agreed on that?
Yeah.
Fernando, your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with everything.
It's good.
Equal engines for everyone.
I don't agree with that one.
But not electric.
Huh?
But not electric.
Yeah, and not Honda.
Yeah, it's interesting to note that Lewis doesn't want equal engines for everybody.
Nah, No, especially not Hondas. But it's interesting. Let's write that out. So they said V12, more women involved in the sport, more in the team, more women involved.
I kind of disagree with your interpretation there, but let's be politically correct.
Let's be politically correct, because I think that's what he meant.
And at the same time, a race in Vegas.
And a race in Vegas. A race in Vegas. So let's push for that. Let's say back to a V12, naturally aspirated V12 engine, more females, more women, and a race in Vegas.
And all to have the same engine?
No, I don't.
No?
I'm not on board with that. No.
As long as it's not a Honda.
As long as it's not
According
a Honda.
to everyone there.
Yeah.
I just think that with technology like the, recovery, let's call it an energy recovery system.
Yeah.
When you have technology like that, it comes down to who owns the technology, who owns the most refined version of that technology. And that really doesn't have anything to do with motor racing. I mean, if we're going to suddenly make that part of motor racing, then like I said, how far away are we from running electric cars? And they made it quite clear that they don't want to see electric.
That's right. Yeah.
So, I don't know. I mean, the V12, I would imagine, from a driver's perspective, would be a more tractable engine than, say, a 1.5 making 1,300 horsepower.
Yeah.
Because I'll tell you what, when that boost comes on, you know about it.
Yeah.
And I imagine any turbo that can make 1,300 horsepower is going to be a bit laggy down low.
No, that's right.
But, yeah, I don't know. Do you think the V12 era was a good era?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I
Was
like
it
the
even?
V12.
Was it even racing?
Probably not as even as what we'd like it to be. But I still think you cannot beat the sound of a V12. You go anywhere, even if you're out in the streets and you see a V12 Ferrari or Lamborghini go past, there's no other sound like it in the world.
Nick, we can argue about this till the cows come home, but when you hear a 500 cubic inch pro stock motor idling.
Oh yeah, well that's true as well. I'm talking about the European sort of the flavour here, V12. But yeah, you're right. I mean, yes, I like the sound of a big cube naturally aspirated motor as well. But yeah, anyway, that's just my thoughts. And you know what? I'm not the only one that thinks that. I mean, the four of your best drivers there believe the same thing.
They would be. They would have to be the four best currently racing.
Yeah.
The Daniel Ricciardo quote.
I love that quote. You pointed that quote out to me.
Have we got it handy?
Hang on, it was here.
This is Daniel Ricciardo after winning, which, hats off. Awesome result for Australia. Daniel Ricciardo, well, butter my butt and call me a biscuit. That was a race. On Twitter immediately after the race. So, a lot of drama in this one, Nick. I actually fell asleep. I'm not joking. I actually fell asleep.
There was a lot of drama, and I'm not sure if it was good for the sport or bad for the sport. I'm yet to decide. I really don't know. I'm going to hedge my bets both ways.
So, for those of you that didn't watch the race, it started off, in the usual fashion, follow the leader. But unfortunately, for whatever reason, there was a lot of tagging going on. There was a lot of debris. And those F1 cars are that fragile that they just fall apart as soon as they look at each other. So they had to stop, safety car. Lewis Hamilton was whinging about the safety car going too slow, and they couldn't keep the temperature in the tyres, etc., etc. This happened a couple of times. And then finally, whether he wants to admit it or not, Lewis decided to brake test Vettel.
Oh, yeah, there's a brake test. No doubt.
According to him, it wasn't. But what amazes me is you're whinging that the safety car's going too slow, and then you decide to, jump on the brakes, like slow down even more. So anyway, nonetheless, Vettel runs into the back of him, and Vettel decides to do something which I thought was pretty cool. Pulls alongside of him, gives him a bit of a bump.
Yep.
But Vettel got a 10-second stop-go.
Yeah.
Incidentally, at the same time as Hamilton was asked to pit.
That's correct. Yep.
And this all happened after the red flag. So
That's correct,
when the red flag came out and all the cars came into the pits, and this is the thing, Formula One, you know, like it's meant to be the pinnacle of motorsport, right? No one knew what the rules were. No one knew what they were allowed to do to the cars, what they weren't allowed to do to the cars. Like some teams were practically rebuilding the cars in the. It was true. I'm not exaggerating. Putting tyres, new wings, new diffusers, this, that. Anyway, I fell asleep. I thought, this is ridiculous. How many times are they going to stop this race? And the commentators, the two English guys, right? They were talking about how exciting it was after the restarts because all the cars were bunched together. And I thought, you know what? Maybe they should just drag race.
Yeah.
Because they're all bunched together then. Just whoever gets to the end of the track first. Anyway. So, going from the MotoGP earlier that night, watching that, and then watching the F1, it's understandable why I fell asleep.
Yeah.
That has got to be, like, one of the best races of this season, if not the best. And I reckon this championship is probably one of the closest, hardest fought, most dramatic MotoGP championships there's ever been.
Definitely, yeah. Can we just finish off with Formula One? I want to talk a little bit more about some of the battles that have been going on.
If you want.
Yeah.
You know,
I just wanted to talk about, let's just have a listen to Lewis Hamilton and Sebastian Vettel after the race.
It definitely sets a precedent, I think, not only for... It sets a precedent within Formula One. I think it also does for all the young kids that are watching us Formula One drivers drive and conduct ourselves. They've seen today how a four-time world champion behaves, and I think hopefully that doesn't ripple into the younger categories. In terms of how things are penalised, how you can do something like that and then still finish fourth, I think it's, I don't know. I've not really thought too much about it since. I just tried as hard as I could to get back up, but obviously it's, not a great day.
What happened between you and Lewis behind the safety car?
Well, I think you saw.
Well, we saw first there was contact from behind. Do you feel that Lewis was driving too slowly?
Well, no, the leader dictates the pace, but we were exiting the corner, he was accelerating, and then he braked so much that I was braking as soon as I saw, but I couldn't stop in time and ran in the back of him. I think that was just not necessary.
And then there was the moment in which you hit him from the side. Lewis says it sets a dangerous precedent, not just for Formula One, but also for kids coming through the sport.
Well, I think, Formula One is for grown-ups. I think, as I said, the maneuver before was not necessary, and obviously damaged my front wing, damaged also his rear, I think, a little bit. So I think that was just not the right way to do it, exiting the corner, accelerating, and then braking. I don't think there was any point of doing that.
Do we really have to talk about this?
Formula One is for grown-ups. That is the statement we're going to take away from this race. There was one other sound clip. Please just do me. I just want to play this one as well. This is Sebastian in car when they gave him the 10-second stop-go.
We have a 10-second stop-and-go penalty for dangerous driving, and we need to pay it in 2 laps from now.
When did I do dangerous driving then? Can you give me an explanation when I did dangerous driving?
We speak after now. Keep your head down.
Yeah, I had a real good chuckle over the weekend. I never really liked Sebastian. When he came over to Ferrari, I had to adopt him as of hands kind of thing. But
come on, man. You got to admit that it was ballsy for him to do what he did.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And it was funny to watch.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I don't know. I just think that they are all just a bunch of spoiled brats, and they really need to get in something like a door slammer and drive it and grow some balls. Because, It's sort of like all the bullshit with the restart, whether there's a safety car there or not. What's the other one they call virtual safety car? The guy who's in front, especially if it's a git like Hamilton, right? He's going to try and do whatever he can to get an advantage. So he's going to slow right down, make sure the guy's in the wrong gear behind him, whatever he can do to stuff the guy up behind him. And that's the thing, like, these guys aren't out for a fair race. They're just out there to win by whatever, it is. Now, I was stoked when and seriously, I did fall asleep. So I was stoked when I found out that Ricardo won.
Yeah.
Even if it was a Stephen Bradbury move.
It was.
Nonetheless, he won, right? Because that kid there, I like him. I think that he's great for the sport. He's very charismatic. And I still don't get why he's not driving a Ferrari.
No, neither do I. I should add also that first recording regarding the Formula One and the future has never been aired before. That was a piece that I had left over from, I think it was episode 3, and we never found a home for it. So there you go. That was one that we've never played before. Moving along, one of the things we spoke about being from Western Australia were changes to, said changes that were in the wind, I guess you could say, to the licensing, or in particular VSB 14. Let's just have a listen to that.
Anyway, so I just wanted to start with a lot has happened in the last 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
And that included getting a phone call yesterday from the Commodore owner.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
The one that we may have offended somewhat?
No, I don't think I think what we did inadvertently, or maybe deliberately, we vilified him. And I've got to be honest with you, Nick, in this story, I don't see this man as a villain. I actually see him as the hero.
Right. Oh, well, we did in the last podcast. We called him the DH word a number of times. Well, so which we've had to edit out.
Well, you know what? I take it all back.
Yeah,
I take it all back. There is a saying that there is always two sides to the story, and obviously I presented a spokesperson. I guess let's call him from the Department of Transport. But now I've spoken to the owner of the car. I don't know his name. I actually said to him, "Look, I don't want to know what your name is." So
we didn't say his name in the podcast anyway.
Well, I don't know what his name is.
Yep.
I actually have that information, and I don't want that information because it's irrelevant who it is. It's how it happened. So basically. And I've been told this. Obviously, I've put in some crazy applications over the years. I've been told that you can't go outside of the guidelines of VSB 14, right? That was the letter of the law, shall we say, the policy, right? Well, apparently you can. And apparently it happens on quite a regular basis. Now, why does it happen? Who makes the decision, right? It's kind of like when West Coast used to play Geelong and Gary Ablett used to come out and hit someone and no one got a free kick, right? You're looking for consistency in umpiring. Now, that wasn't fair to the Eagles, and I guess this situation wasn't really fair to him. So he presented the argument to the Department of Transport that I am prepared to do whatever it takes to get this car registered, right? And they weren't interested. They weren't interested in any engineering, structural. He offered to do twist tests. He offered to do whatever they wanted. You tell me what you want done, and I'll do it. I don't agree with it, but I'll do it because this is what I want. I want this combination of engine, transmission, and differential in this body style, right? So, aside from what we discussed, the Audi deal, he sent the application off to South Australia and it was approved immediately.
Yeah.
Right? So armed with that, he said, well, how come it's all right there and it's not all right here? And really the Ombudsman was out of sheer frustration after more than 2 years of trying to get some sort of sensible answer out of the Department of Transport. They basically just wouldn't reply to his emails or letters anymore. It would be very difficult for this government, for this state government, to pull off giving us stricter laws than the rest of Australia. And there would definitely be the opportunity to take this further from a legal perspective, because why should something that's deemed legal in New South Wales or South Australia or Queensland be deemed illegal in Western Australia?
Yeah.
So it's once again, it's a watch this space. The comment that he made that I think is very valid is, remember I discussed that the RAC and the MTA were involved in this process now. The RAC will not register modified vehicles, right? Even modified late model vehicles that are permitted, right? So they shouldn't really, they shouldn't at all be involved in this discussion, because if they're not prepared to license those vehicles, why would they say to the Department of Transport, well, here's a set of guidelines that we're happy with, when they won't accept any modifications to a vehicle at all? So I think that it would be wise of the Department of Transport to talk to Shannon's, because they specialise in the insurance of vehicles like that. And unlike the RAC, they're not going to say, oh no, we're not for this. We think this is There's also a number of statistics that are being compiled at the moment, and I haven't seen them as yet. I've only been briefed on them, and it's fairly evident that people who modify cars and do it legally are the safest drivers on the road.
Oh, I have no doubt about that. Absolutely no one said that.
So, well, that's the latest with the VSB 14 saga at this point in time.
Truth be known, that's actually one of our highest rating episodes, that one where we discussed the VSB 14 and even the previous episode. Over the year, we also had a bit of tongue-in-cheek, and we made up some segments that worked well, some that probably didn't. The Eurovision Motorsport Song Contest was probably one of my favourites. Didn't really pan out that well, but I thought I'd just give it a special run in our best of.
Nick, I'm a bit of a topical guy, right? Yep. Eurovision.
Yeah, Eurovision.
Eurovision. Why are we in Europe? Did Australia become part of Europe?
No, I don't think so. But when did we come in? It was a couple of years ago, I reckon. So maybe a few years ago.
It always seems to be people that win on these game shows or whatever they.
Yeah, well, we had Guy.
Australia's.
You know what? You're exactly right. It was Guy Sebastian.
That's
then
it.
Dami Im, and then this year was Isaiah. And you'll have to forgive me, but I don't.
Shout out to Dami.
Anyway, the world motorsport bodies are going to get together. Have you heard? Then they're going to have a motorsport version of the Eurovision Song Contest.
Really?
Yeah. So, representing Formula One from Germany, we have Sebastian Vettel.
Ring, ding, 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 ding.
Yep. Not much to say there.
No. From Finland, representing World Rally Championship, we have Tony Gardemeister. Let's have a listen to Tony here.
Winterall.
Well, I hope he drives better than.
I really one of my favourites from MotoGP, and he's representing Italy. Let's just listen into Valentino Rossi here.
Ho visto Maradona, oh mamma, innamorato sono.
Is there anything that he can't do, Nick?
No. That was pretty good, I thought. I thought that was pretty good. Over in the US, they've actually been allowed in as well. So representing NASCAR from the US, we have Matt Kenseth.
Won't you take me to Bucky Town?
You know what? If Bruce Springsteen ever retires, Matt's in there with a chance.
No, that was terrible, I reckon, for Matt. That was Matt, let your driving do the talking. But I think my personal opinion is that Dami and Isaiah, they're in a world of trouble, because I think we have, representing V8 Supercars from Australia, I think Craig Lowndes has their measure. Let's just listen into Craig Lowndes here, belt out, Eye of the Tiger.
Went away, now I'm back on my feet. Just a man and his will to survive. So many times it happened too fast. You trade your fortune for glory, to lose your grip on the dreams of the past.
And that's why he drives a Holden.
I cannot understand how he did not know the words of Eye of the Tiger. What is he? He's my age, Craig Lowndes, and I was brought up on Eye of the Tiger.
He should have been.
Seriously. Craig, Eye of the Tiger. Learn it.
Have you seen the new combi?
I have, and I'm not that
impressed.
No, it's different. Let's put it that way. I guess we've got to be going down that sort of path.
It kind of looked to me. It looks like they've crossed a Beetle with a combi.
Yeah,
made like a Bombi.
It does look like that. Yeah.
Is that maybe that Bombi? That's what they should be called, Bombinieri. What I thought is if I've got this right, they are claiming you can charge it in 30 minutes.
Yeah.
That is incredible.
But look at the lithium-ion battery in it. 111 kilowatt hours. That's phenomenal. 150 kilowatt electric motor. Hang on, they could be in jeopardy of not getting on the road in WA as well.
No chance. No chance. VSB, it's 150 at each end. It's 300 kilowatts, Nick.
Yeah, that's what I'm...
No chance.
It's done,
no chance.
mate.
You will not be able to register this under VSB 14. Reader?
Get on to it.
This is as green as you get, as PC as you get.
160 k's an hour. I tell you. It blew me away when I saw it. But look, I mean, it's...
I want to know what it does 0 to 100.
No, that wasn't in there.
Oh, they're claiming about 5 seconds, but how about is it?
Yeah,
3.5
5
seconds.
There it is. Yeah, just get on the website and Google it. It's funny looking vehicle. I've never been into the combi thing, so probably that's why I'm tainted in some ways.
You know the irony, right? So the 21 window or whatever it is the pinnacle of combi, the split window 21 window.
Shit.
What was that?
Do we need to look? Fit in now. I'll tell you what, that scared the bejesus out of me.
Nick had to go and do a wardrobe change there. Had a wardrobe malfunction.
Aged a couple of years there.
Anyway, so the 21 window,
yeah,
right, split window, whatever the hell, Safari, whatever the hell they call them. I've seen those things go in excess of $300,000.
Yeah, the big bucks. Yeah.
Okay, so here's a little bit of a story, right? My cousins and I, we used to buy them for anywhere from $20 to $50, right? We used to rip the transmissions out of them because they got reduction boxes, right? We used to use them in the beach buggies. And the rest of them used to either get filled up with rubbish and taken to the tip or used as dog kennels, chicken coops.
Yeah, right. Fucking hell.
The amount of those combis that we cut up. So fast forward to now, my brother's got one.
Yep.
He's got one.
Really?
Yeah. He's got it's not a 21 window. It's but it's slammed and it's got the 2 litre or whatever. Well, actually, I shouldn't say that. Well, no, might get knocked back on VSP 14. No, it's a 1200. Actually it might be an 1100. It's incredible that they I reckon the reason they're worth so much money is because there's not many of them left because we destroyed so many of them.
So there we have it, everyone. Look, we're an hour and 54 into this podcast. My apologies. I knew it was going to take a little while, but maybe we could have cut back on a little bit of it. But in my mind, that's our best of. So there you have it. Look, it goes without saying I can't do this podcast without our co-host Simon Gonzo Travellini. Without him, it just doesn't happen or it won't happen. So a big, big thanks to him. He's an integral part of this show. And, without him, we just can't do it. Also, our sponsors that have helped us out with the Camry, that's getting very close now. So they are All Fast Torque Converters, Shift Kits Australia, WA Suspensions, Benzene Detailing, SCM Race Engines and Performance, BG Mechanical, Keys Transmissions, Monster Torque, Overboost, Mach 1 Air Conditioning, Challenge Batteries, OTR Tyres, Performance Turbos, and basically you guys, our fans. Without you guys, we can't do it. We really appreciate all your commentary that you give us. And please share us on Facebook. Get people to like us on Facebook. Share us to your friends. Subscribe. Tell a friend about us on iTunes as well. It's really appreciated. Everything you can do to get our name out there is really appreciated. There's 2 more people I need to thank that I haven't thanked at all this year. They're not on the show. They don't really get involved with the show. However, without these 2 people, we can't do what we do. And that is my good wife, Linda DeChembry, and also Simon's wife, Nicole Travellini. They have supported us to the nth degree, and their support is really appreciated. Every second Tuesday night, Simon has to leave home, or I go to his workshop and we do this recording. And, you know, a lot of time gets put into this, and there's no questions asked from our wives. Their support is really appreciated. So thank you, girls. Really appreciate it. Anyway, thanks for listening. We'll be back in 2 weeks' time with a run-of-the-mill, well, not run-of-the-mill, but our general podcast. And Simon will be back in the seat, so we look forward to seeing you then. Best wishes for 2018, everyone. Take care.
Talk and Power stresses all characters and events on this podcast, even those based on real people, are entirely fictional. All celebrity voices are impersonated poorly. We do not encourage street racing or the use of turbochargers.